So what the fuck was that?
I don't know, but I'm not gonna lie, I loved it.
Yeah, you know, okay, yeah. So, all right, so welcome back, everybody. Ryan and AJ here for Midnight Screenings LA. Today with our review of the Nicolas Cage movie, Mandy. And wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right.
Good luck describing that story.
Yeah, oh my God. All right, so wow, like okay, so basic more or less thing, Nicolas Cage is like a lumberjack living in the backwoods of somewhere.
I'm going to say Oregon, because this is very Oregon-y.
Yeah, it's very very Pacific Northwest, with his wife, Mandy, and they just kind of have their simple cabin life. It's the 1980s also.
They make that very clear as the 1980s.
Oh my God, they want you to know this was in the 80s. And
I will say those are some of the best titles I've seen, establishing acts.
I guess, yeah, they're was broken up into like sections, but not like evenly, and then they'd have these very, very 80s. I think like the Stranger Things title that came on. Like they were very clearly inspired to want to do the Stranger Things title. So anyway, a cult, because there has to be a cult. A cult comes in, and
this cult loves Jesus, apparently, but in a weird way.
Yeah, this was actually the inspiration for Jesus, bro. No, but yeah, no. So yeah, they're a weird. Yeah, I mean it's a standard whatever 80s cult, religious cult. They want Mandy. The leader of the cult desires Mandy. He kidnaps her and tries to take her. She resists. They kill her, and then it becomes a revenge movie of Nicolas Cage with total vengeance, seeking revenge,
like Kill Bill style, like every person.
Yeah, so all right. So there's more or less the synopsis of what the movie is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's weird. It's weird.
It's a weird fucking movie.
I was really digging once. Unfortunately, once she died, even though I think she was really compelling, I really dug once it really started picking off of the plot. Because until then, it was kind of meandering to get to that point. Which,
first complaint, that was over an hour into the movie.
That was an hour into the movie?
Yes.
Holy shit.
That's basically like the inciting incident that doesn't happen till an hour into the movie.
Yeah, it was kind of weird up until that point.
It was really weird up into that point. And so yeah, it's like that. This is where kind of the things, like my complaints and things kind of go off the rail on this, is that you could have cut an hour out of this movie.
Yeah.
You could have cut an hour out of this movie and it would have been great. I think it would have been a great movie if you cut a solid hour out of it.
I agree. The pacing was really slow, so you could keep that pacing, but there's a whole bunch leading up to her dying that you could have just thrown out or gotten rid of.
And you're right that she's very compelling. I mean, the actress, I don't know her name offhand, but she was really good.
Yeah.
And she was compelling, and I think that she was really interesting, and she was visually interesting. She had a really nice performance. But yeah, the movie doesn't get going until she dies, which is an hour into it.
Yeah, it's kind of like that dream sequence at the end of 2001: A Space Odyssey, but they put it at the beginning, and you have to sit through it, and you're like, okay, all right, now I get it. They're weird and they're in the drugs. Okay.
And yeah, so it's very much a 80s drug fueled trip type of thing through all of the movie, and it starts out with hearing Reagan on the radio.
Oh yeah, and he's
talking about America now wants it to be very, Americans reject pornography. They reject this, and then he turns it off, and then he turns it off. You're very welcome. Yes, good. So he's listening to Reagan, and he turns it off. He switches it off in anger.
He's talking about what pornography and abortions or whatever, and then the cult leader just wants to have sex with Mandy, and she's like, no, I'm not going to do that,
right? Yeah,
because he's full of himself,
right? Yeah. So it's. I guess there's a heavy-handed anti-Reagan message or something?
Maybe, I'm not sure. This director, he did this on his last movie. It was supposed to be about social media and stuff, and that's his shtick. Every movie has a social theme that he's addressing, but because his movies are really weird, it's really hard to pinpoint what it is unless he's like, it means this.
which okay, I appreciate subtlety and I appreciate pushing something in there, but I don't know. There's like, you know, a quick story on, like, you know, since you know I work on Sharknado, there's times in Sharknado where the producers and the network come back to us and they say, have them say it means this. and it's not because they don't like subtlety or whatever. They're like, listen, we're trying to have an audience for everybody. So eventually you have to actually have a character say that this means this.
And you mean you're trying to get past subtlety.
Right.
Like that. That's the example.
Now obviously that's an extreme on the other end.
Yeah.
That's trying to say we're playing to the absolute lowest common denominator. Nobody needs to have any type of question what's happening here. But I think this is way to the other end of the spectrum, which is it's so subtle. It's like, did you get it?
You're gonna have to watch it a few times.
You gotta watch it a few times. You know, I don't want to spend another 2 hours going through this.
Definitely. This reminds me a lot of Tarkovsky films. Like, have you seen Holy Mountain or is it El Topo? I think it's El Topo or El Toro.
No.
It's weird movies in the 1970s. Holy Mountain, John Lennon funded, so that gives you an idea of what he's into. But that whole movie is a lot like this. I was getting the whole vibe where you're like, what the hell is going on the whole time? There's imagery. I know you're meaning something. What the hell is going on? But it's still like when you get home and you're like doing the dishes, you're like, man, I'm still thinking about the movie though. I'm still thinking about that one scene.
Yeah, and again, that's fine. I'm okay with thinking about it.
Some people are into that. Some people are into it.
Some people are into that. That's fine. I mean, if it's done really well, I think that is the thing, is to have it linger with you and to move on. This doesn't necessarily linger with me. There's just times where I was laughing in spite of myself because I was like, what the fuck is that?
I know. The best part was when Nick Cage broke the guy's neck and they crash zoomed on his face and he's
yeah, like they would do these so it was two different movies. There was the cult movie.
Yeah.
And then there's this weird, like, 70s, 80s exploitation revenge film.
Yeah.
And there was this little theme of weirdness and colors and drugs that were strung between the two of them. So the cult movie is about drugs, and it's about walking through the woods, and it's about, oh, look at this and beauty, and
one with the universe.
And let's just stay on somebody's face for 8 minutes and have them explain their drug trip when they met Jesus, and occasionally transition her face onto his face while he was doing it,
which was cool.
Sure, yeah, that was different. That was definitely cool. But like, okay, so that's the whole, like, I mean,
that's the drug side of the movie.
That's the first hour of the film.
Yeah,
you know,
that was a really long time.
Hour of the film.
I felt like I was on drugs during that first hour.
Yeah. Some movies give out, you know, 3D glasses. This one should give out drugs. Then you could be on board with everyone.
I think they should have everyone pee in a cup after that.
I think so too.
Like, you're going in clean, you come out not clean.
You come out, addicted to a lot of things. So okay, yeah. Then once the trippy, you know, Cult in the Woods movie ends, then it does make that turn into a revenge movie. And as much during the first hour as I was like, I don't know where this is going.
Yeah.
This is painful. I kept laughing at places where I'm not supposed to laugh.
Oh,
it's supposed to be like super intense, like type of thing. So I'm just like, because it's not, the tone just wasn't working. The tone wasn't working. I'm like, is this supposed to be funny? Because
it kind of felt like it was full of itself at some point.
It was full of itself. It was because in the same way, like the cult leader was like so full of himself, the movie felt full of itself. As in, like, this is important, and you need to listen to it because it's important. It's like, boo! Throw a pie, or give Nicolas Cage an axe or something,
or give him more lines. He didn't speak much. He didn't speak much the entire film. I will say, Nick Cage did a fantastic job in the movie.
Yeah.
Even though he was like, there were moments where he's very Nicolas Cagey. Is like, you ripped my favorite shirt, which was like hilarious. But it's like, yeah, what the fuck do you? If you see the movie, you see this scene, you're like, yeah, what else would you say in that situation? You know, I would say the same thing. You ripped my shirt.
You dick.
It kind of like Nicolas Cage was the one character that I related to the most in the movie, because me and him throughout the entire movie are like, what the hell is going on?
That's
what
true.
The fuck is this?
Everybody else, even Mandy, everybody else is kind of along this world of.
They're like, oh, it's drugs. Just get used to it.
It's drugs. It's wonderful. It's beautiful. Expand your mind, sort of thing. And then Nick Cage is just, you know.
Give me my crossbow. I'm gonna.
Yeah. I'm going hunting.
I will say what I do like most about the movie, even though it's very out there, very avant-garde. I think the director made a very bold choice, and he has a very strong voice in how he made the film. I agree that it's a little pretentious, but I like that he's stuck with it all the way through the whole movie. I didn't like it. I didn't like having to sit through a whole hour of a trippy drug sequence.
Right.
But I was into it. And I'm like, you know what? This is the movie. You made the movie that you wanted to see.
Sure.
Bravo.
Yeah. No, and the pretension is not through all of it. It's just that there's certain parts where it just gets really in your face. That's just like a little much. And you know it. I mean, again, you're right. There was an artistic theme that they really wanted to push, which was, I mean, there was colors.
Yeah, a lot of colors
all over the place. Intense, vivid colors, like drawing you out of the scene to a point at certain points. So like, you know, he'd pick something up and somebody was flashing a green light on it.
Yeah, it was supposed to be like a really magical item. Like it looked like the ocarina at the time, I'm not gonna lie. But they pulled out this one thing, it's like a flute, whatever, they call these demon bike riders, and it was like flashing green on it.
Which also the demon bike riders, like, you know, they show up and they seem supernatural and crazy. And then they just leave, and there's literally no explanation about them. And because I've seen movies that do this, I was like, I bet we're never going to see those characters again, and we're never going to explain why there's demon fucking bike riders.
They did explain it,
They did!
I actually like that. I was
but it's like, that's getting to the second movie.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, because the first movie is this weird drug trip, and then they come into their house, and then she won't have sex with them. And after this 8-9 minute long him looking into the camera talking about Jesus thing. And then they burn her in this horribly vivid, you know, crazy, you know, moment in front of Nick Cage, who's wrapped up in barbed wire. And then after that,
very symbolic of Jesus and the crown of thorns. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it.
Is that what that was about? So again, subtlety, you know. Okay, so then suddenly we slip into like a great, almost grindhouse, like
very much grindhouse,
you know, 70s, 80s exploitation revenge flick, and like that alone made it worthwhile.
Yeah, it really kicked it into high gear at that point, and I was really into it.
I was too, because it was Nick Cage just getting crazy bloody satisfaction.
Well, and getting beat up too. He got beat up, man.
Yeah, he got his ass beat. And so the crazy demon bikers are actually just, you know, they got some crazy strain of LSD.
They got a bad strain of LSD.
They got a bad strain of LSD that made them like super.
They're like into pain. They became demons.
Yeah, they basically became demons.
They look like the rejects of Slipknot.
Right.
Like, well, you guys are too hard for us.
That's right. Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, you guys need to know. So yeah, so he goes and he goes after the cult, and so he goes and he kills the bikers. Obviously, spoilers.
They know this already.
They know this.
I don't know how you can spoil a movie like this though, because you don't go to this movie for a plot. You go to this movie for an experience.
Because there wasn't much plot.
No, it was really straightforward. There
wasn't much story either. It was just like, here's an hour worth of drug-related stuff, and then here's an hour of Nicolas Cage fighting some shit.
Oh, but Nick Cage, he did do drugs too. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
The way he did it was hilarious.
So yeah, he murders the crazy bikers, right? And it's what was it, like, one of them had like a giant table full of cocaine.
Oh, and a blade penis too.
Yeah, like a blade penis.
I think that's the prop from Seven.
Yeah, his penis was a giant blade, so that's how Nick Cage kills him. Is he tries to pin him down and kill him, and he like shoves the penis through him.
Great kill.
I did have some problem with some of the kills, in that a lot of them were hard to really like understand.
Yeah, did you kill them? How did you get them?
Right. You know, that's kind of an editing thing, and just you didn't really, like, you know, he killed them because they stopped moving and he got up and did other things. But like, and I mean, obviously there's budgetary things, and
makes sense.
They spent a lot of their money on other things.
The one thing really I didn't like was there were times I didn't get a sense, and I think this is an editing choice. I didn't get a sense of the space I was in.
Yeah.
Sometimes that makes sense. Like, if I'm tripped out or drugging, I shouldn't know where I am.
Sure.
When he killed the first guy and he fell down that big hole in front of him, I was like, whoa, that's convenient. There's a big hole in front of you.
The guy comes in and gets in his face and says something, but their voices are augmented, so you didn't exactly hear what he said. But yeah, Nick Cage has a pipe that he breaks loose and smacks him, and then he falls into a pit.
Yeah, I was like, that's convenient.
Where the hell was that?
It's like, how are you going to fight him? You're nailed to the floor. Oh, never mind. Well, then he gets up. The best part of the movie, the part that got me on the edge of my seat the most, is Nick Cage gets up and stumbles over the hole, and I was like, whoa. Don't end the movie too quick. We've got another 45 minutes. I don't want to do more drugs.
Right, yeah. No, oh God, don't go back to more drug sequences. Dear Lord, no. Yeah, okay, so yeah, then he goes after the other one, and then there was like a guy, he shoots him in the neck with the arrow, but the guy just pulls it out because like,
he loved it. He loved
the pain, yeah. Yeah, so, and those fight scenes are great. He forges this big, beautiful, like, axe.
I didn't know he knew how to do that. I thought he was just a lumberjack.
He was a lumberjack, but apparently he knows how to, you know, smelts, axes, which is, hey.
It was actually pretty to watch that, too. Like, see how he made that whole blade.
Yeah, you see him actually pouring the liquid metal and, hammering it and stuff. It was like, that's when the movie was getting like, yay,
finally!
This is something I'm wanting to see. This is great. And then, there's some great kills as he's going through and attacking the cult people. But the best part of the whole movie, the thing that was like, I had seen this teased, so I had been waiting for it the whole time, was the chainsaw fight.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so other movies can do, you fight somebody with a chainsaw. This one did two guys fight.
It was
Nick
a chainsaw duel.
It had a chainsaw duel with another guy, which is amazing.
The way he revealed his chainsaw too, because he's got like Nick Cage got the normal chainsaw, and then the other guy grabs the chainsaw and the blade's hidden behind like a big rock, and he slides it out, and it's like you got your penis. Here's my double-sized penis.
Yeah, it's just this super long like chainsaw. And again, like the fight of the chainsaw fight was really pretty awesome. The kill was like a little lackluster.
It was a big letdown actually, because he had this build-up where, like in any sword dueling scene, you know, and you're like, oh, how's he gonna get it? Oh, that's it. That's how he killed him.
Again, it's like they spent a lot of their money elsewhere, so like doing the big bloody kills for everybody, because again, you killed like 9-10 people in this movie. Yeah. You can't do super awesome big bloody kills.
I think they used 2 big bloody kills, like for the final kill, and then. Oh, what was the other one? The fire, actually burning that body was really interesting. I don't know how. Oh, that guy he burned, the one by the burning car. That was cool.
And then he picks up a cigarette and he lights the cigarette off the burning, decapitated head of the demon biker guy, and then Nick Cage's his way.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it. And he just moves right along.
He just moves right. Yeah, he moves right.
I like that. What's his name from Predator was in there. I can't remember his name right now, but he was from Predator, the guy who kept shaving himself. And I was really half hoping he started shaving himself again when he was inside the trailer with Nick Cage.
No, he was great. Yeah, he's the one that he goes to get like his weapons from, and also like we finally get the tiniest bit of explanation of like the world and like the
what's
war.
going on.
Because until then it is really just Nick Cage and Mandy. And then you see the cultist briefly, and then just all of a sudden there's demon bikers.
Yeah, Mandy has a real creepy story about her dad killing birds when she was a kid.
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on
Which
here?
again, like, there's symbolism there, but...
I'm just freaked out right now.
This has been the 4-minute scene of her describing
in that
birds.
Scene, Nick Cage was falling asleep in it, and I was like, I feel you, man.
It's like, I identify with that character. So it's hard because I really like that second movie. But the first movie was hard to get through.
You have to really commit to it.
You got to commit to it. Now, I think the fortunate thing for anybody who wants to experience this is that I think that this is also releasing limited release in theaters. Yeah. Which really limited. Like, we had to come all the way down to Santa Monica to see this.
Yeah, I know, man. It was like an hour-and-a-half drive for us.
Right.
We complain in LA a lot about driving.
This wouldn't be a show about LA if we didn't talk about traffic.
Didn't you have to? I think you had to take the 405.
I had to take the 405.
It's an LA show.
We got a badge and a award.
Yay! Oh man.
But anyway, like to come all the way down here to see this movie, it was sold out. Just playing
at a niche movie theater. This movie theater does niche movies.
They do really niche movies, which is really cool. And the theater was small. I mean, it probably only had, maybe 30 seats?
It felt like some guy's, home theater that he has in his basement. He's like, I got 8 seats. You want to check it out?
Yeah. So, you're watching the movie while you hear the driver.
I was half expecting someone to walk in and be like, oh, sorry, I didn't know you guys started.
Like a laundry basket. Oh, sorry. Yeah, so, it was... I don't know.
Well, so what's your verdict? Watch it in theaters, VOD? You would VOD?
I would VOD the second half and skip an hour in.
Okay, that's fair.
I mean, because you're not going to miss anything. Because honestly, a wife being murdered is enough motivation for a guy to go do that. Yeah. I agree. I don't think that we needed that whole hour of buildup.
Yeah, I mean John Wick did it right, because they gave him a dog. They show he's really sad about his missing wife. I think that was 10 minutes total?
Sure, right.
And then they kill the dog, and you're like, oh, I'm on your side.
Yeah, you did right, yeah. so obviously, again, the woman who played Mandy was good, and there's things that are nice about that first hour.
A lot of good things in the movie, yeah.
But it's just like, if you really want to see, because what is the premise of the premise? What is the thing that is supposed to get people to watch this movie? Is Nick Cage revenge film.
You don't get that for at least an hour.
Not for an hour in. So you go an hour in, you know his wife has been murdered, and he's going to go fucking crazy, and he does.
Yeah.
And it delivers. And
I agree with that VOD decision. I think I love movies like this because I love really weird movies like Upstream Color or, you know, Holy Mountain, but watching this film, I did not see a reason why you need to be in a theater for it, with one exception. If you watch it on VOD, you have to have really good sound system. I think the sound was incredible the whole time.
The composer, I forget. I should know these things.
We really should have right in front of us as a cheat sheet.
I have to bring up IMDb on my phone. The composer of this composed like Sicario and a bunch of other things, and it was this really awesome like 80s synth rock. Yeah,
like bassy synth, not like cheesy Tron synth.
Right.
Which is Tron synth isn't bad. I'm into it, but this didn't feel 80s the whole time listening to that music, which was really good.
Yeah, Johan Johansson. And
didn't he pass away?
Yeah, he just died recently. He died in February.
Shame. This guy did
and so
this
job. This was actually dedicated to him. This movie was. He did Arrivals.
He's legendary.
Theory of Everything. Oh yeah, I mean, phenomenal composer, and really, really sad. And this was the music.
This is
really
a good, you know. I don't know if this is his last film that he composed, but this is a good end of career, unfortunately, for him to go out on. Because I actually this is that type of soundtrack that you refer to as a filmmaker, being like I'm sure, Denis Villeneuve, when he did Arrival and Sicario, he was talking to this composer, being like, remember these movies from the 70s, Goblin did for Suspiria and did it for this one, make it like that, but more modern. And this movie is that movie where it's going to inspire so many composers to make great soundtracks.
I agree. The soundtrack was really cool. So, but yeah, no, I got to say, my final note on it was that this was a complete and total deviation from the Barry Manilow song.
Yeah.
So.
Very much so. Very different. It took me a second to process that. I was like, Barry that'd be actually great to see Barry Manilow watching this movie.
This isn't what I was talking about.
or now they get it.
Yeah, that's right. Barry Manilow's like, see, it was all there the whole time. See, she came and she took without giving.
And then, you know,
that's what happens.
You gotta cleanse with fire.
That's what the whole movie, that song was about. We just didn't know it till now. We didn't know it.
Oh, film.
Film. So. Okay, so yeah, your final. That's my recommendation. What are your
VOD? I say VOD. Just have a really good sound system.
Good sound system.
And turn off the smooth motion on your TV. Because this movie uses a lot of different shutter speeds for the trippy sequences, that if you have that smooth motion on your TV, it's going to take away those effects.
Yeah.
So I definitely, if you're into the smooth motion, which shame on you.
For starters,
shame on you. But also, if you're into smooth motion, I'm not going to judge, but this movie wasn't made for smooth motion. It'll ruin those druggy effects if you have it.
Cool. All right, well, I think that pretty well wraps it up for us today.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for watching yet again. I think this is our first Patreon exclusive one.
Oh, really?
Yes. So these people are watching exclusively at Patreon. If they're not, if for some reason I'm wrong, and you're watching this on YouTube.
So if Ryan's wrong, then give us a like. And if Ryan's right, then pledge more.
Sure. If not, thank you guys for the support. And if this is on YouTube and if you want to see more of these, check us out on Patreon. The link for Patreon is going to be right down here. Also, just be sure to click like and subscribe to Stone Gremlin Productions, as we're going to do a lot more coming up for you as well.
Yeah.
So, all right then. Until next time. See you guys later.
Try and do the druggy effect.
That was just, an hour of this.